Welcome to the Living in Coastal Virginia podcast and inaugural, is that the right word? Inaugural series of this where we're going to interview some local professionals. I'm going to use that term loosely for Allen here and talk about a little bit about the area. Allen has been in the construction world for a very, very long time, started with his father, but I'm going to let you tell a little bit more of that story. So let's explore the Strickland Homes story. Where did your dad start? How did you get into the industry?
We're getting right into
it.
Yeah. I mean, not like a good evening.
No, none of that.
Isn't that like a Jocko
I got
intro?
you your coffee. That's all you got.
That was sweet. Yes. Yes. I did want to say, how's the number 2 agent in the area doing?
Oh my gosh, Allen's wife is an agent, and so he's obligated to say that. If she wasn't an agent, he would change his tune.
I may believe it also.
That's fair.
Yes. I've been in it for as long as I can remember. As
unpaid child labor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then at one point we started getting $1 a day, so that was pretty sweet.
All right.
But
sweeping floors, that type of thing.
Yeah. It first started, me and Wendy would pretty much ruin the sand pile in the front yard. We'd, mash it down, spread it out real good. Mm-hmm. And then it began cleaning the streets.
Yeah, but your dad did trim carpentry first?
He did. He started in 72, I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. Right out of high school, started trimming houses. He got paid by the piece. So if any of you know my dad, he's very fast at whatever he does. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of brought it about because it's always been related to money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if there's an incentive to do something quicker, yeah. There's a dollar tied to that.
Yeah, I mean, he's the type of guy, he'd get in there and knock out 5 or 6 hours, working 5 or 6 hours, but basically getting about 8 to 10 hours of work done and get out of there and go home and play.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, I think my first paycheck, I think I was getting about $5 an hour. Mm-hmm. That was nice.
All right. How old were you?
15, 14,
somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I mean, he used the free child labor for as long as he could. Mm-hmm. But I think when permits started coming around, and
when did you and the siblings unionize?
What's that?
So when did you and the siblings unionize?
Oh, I know, right? No, I think he just saw the benefit of me having me out there. I guess. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's nice to have a clean job.
When did he when did your dad actually make the transition from trim carpenter to I want to now actually build out houses?
I want to say it was late 70s. I think 78, I believe, is when they built his first house.
Sure.
And he's got some really funny stories about it. Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll have
the
him
mistakes
on
they made, and what they did, and I don't think they made a whole lot. But they kept at it, and they went 12, 14 years. They went as long as they could, trimming and building homes.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where they just couldn't handle it.
Did he move or build mostly Norfolk, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach? What was kind of his? I know every builder kind of has like a section, and then sometimes they spread out.
Yeah, I mean, back then I would say primary Virginia Beach because that was the hot spot in the 80s.
Yeah.
That's kind of when the boom was taking off. Mm-hmm. Your old guys now were, fresh out of high school or college, and that's where the work was. So, yeah, he did a lot. He trimmed a lot of houses in Virginia Beach, built a lot of houses. Chesapeake, I couldn't tell you how much back then, but late 90s, early 2000s, when there was a real boom in Chesapeake.
Sure.
They were building 30 to 50 houses a year out there.
Yeah. I know I think we had talked about this previously, kind of the 2000 to 2005 era where things were going crazy. Ended themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And I think your dad in particular, maybe some of his buddies, were one of the few, there's probably 60, 80% of the builders went under because they'd over leveraged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they personally and with the business. So, my dad had a business partner since, you know, they started trimming together. So he was also a trimmer, and they started Commonwealth Custom Homes 78. And, you know, they both had bought a second home before that time. I would imagine, I'm pretty sure they both paid cash, you know. But you had a lot of these builders, they'd buy a house at the lake, they'd buy a house at the beach, 50-foot boat, you know, just going out to the restaurants, the country clubs.
Big expenses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, lots of overhead.
But at the same time, they were extending out that, you know, money was cheap then, easy then. So they'd go out and buy 50 lots and what they cost. And, yeah, when things hit, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as you got your hands on it.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
When did you, so you started off kind of just doing kind of some general manual labor. Do you remember, like, kind of, did you start doing trim carpentry, regular carpentry, framing? Like, what was your first kind of like actual job on site?
Yeah, I mean, early on it was cleaning and I'd go. We lived in, you know, neighborhood, and my dad built, you know, sometimes 5 to 10 houses in that neighborhood. I'd get home after school and I'd run over there and help the electrician pull wire and those things, you know, I wasn't getting paid for. I just wanted to learn. I'd go help the plumber. So I got to know all those guys too, and they took a liking to me because I want to get out there and work. I wasn't wanting to.
I don't think your dad
get
would
in
have
their
allowed
way. Yeah, I would know. No, my dad would put an old lady to work. You know.
Well, I mean, I think it's something to do with anyone who's kind of brought themselves up or came in and made themselves from nothing. I think there's a tendency to want the same for your kids.
Oh,
you know, if you're maybe several generations of wealth, maybe you don't have that same story, you don't have that same background.
Yeah.
But you know what it means to sweat, you know what it means to fail, you know what it means to be close to barely meeting payroll. Like those are different experiences that not everybody has.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that I'll tell you, learning, you know, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, it's just going to make you a better person. If you can get yourself out of there and get to, you know, where you become Dan, you know.
I'm not there yet.
I mean, that's a huge pat on your back. It just makes you feel great and work hard.
Yeah, I mean, we have some cool staff now. Sean behind the camera now working with me full time, which is kind of a neat, especially since Sean was, you know, in the youth group at Tab, but at the same time you were there, and now he's working with me, which is pretty cool.
Well, you worked for your dad too, right? Yeah. Sorry about that. I'll tell you what, that'll put
a healthy amount of abuse.
Yeah, it'll put a strain on a father-son relationship. There's no doubt. It's not the best thing for everybody.
But you guys have built kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But I think some of the most notable work, at least from what I've seen, has been some of the custom stuff that you've done and East Beach. Yeah. You know, what would you say has been maybe over the last decade or two some of your favorite projects?
I really enjoyed East Beach because you know, the architecture requirements were strict, so it no matter who the builder was, you know, it had to be at a level. Yeah.
You weren't able to compromise it.
Yeah, and a lot of builders got irritated about it. They would argue with them, get fed up. We enjoyed it because, I mean, it's just another person so we'd have conversations with you know, we dealt with 2 different architects, one early on and another guy. But I enjoyed talking with them, getting their input, and they enjoyed getting mine. You know, because I wanted to listen to them. But yeah, I enjoyed them. But
you built on Edinburgh in that neighborhood in Chesapeake.
Yeah, and actually, there's a house we did a Homerama house in there. I think, I don't know, it was 2013, 2014. That was one of my favorite because pretty much my dad was involved on that one, but my wife and I, we handled that one, and we really kind of built it there was no homeowner. It was getting put up for show. I mean, it didn't have like all these crazy gadgets and
Sure.
luxury items and whatnot. It was just a nice, beautiful, well thought out home.
Mm-hmm.
My dream would be to build that house on a couple hundred acres.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys have also done projects in the Cavalier, haven't you? Or at least
Yeah.
one.
Well, we did one.
Okay.
It was tough.
Mm-hmm.
There's no room. There was no access. We were down at the end of the alleyway.
Mm-hmm.
There were 4 or 5 houses going on next to us, and have deliveries would be a nightmare. Nowhere to put anything.
Yeah.
Nobody would let us in there. But as far as the house goes, yes, it
Mm-hmm.
was a nice home. We built it strong. We actually did a conditioned crawl in there.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think was great for that application. And we was rain and stuff in there, so we did a lot of extra things to.
I mean, you're right off the
prevent
ocean
that.
front.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With the Cavalier project too, you had, you have that actual hotel there, and then there's a lot of traffic and
Yeah.
a lot of eyeballs too.
Yeah.
Some of the large old money of Virginia Beach keeping their eyes on what's going on.
Yeah.
I think if you don't mind, I want to shift into some questions I think that'll be really helpful for people that are trying to figure out, building a home versus buying something resale and maybe remodeling. Can you explain the difference between a spec builder, a semi-custom, and a custom builder? What's kind of, I know that there's probably shades of gray in between every category,
Sure.
but what's kind of the general?
Well, I mean, obviously a custom home,
What's your budget?
everything.
Yeah.
Whatever you want, what's your budget?
Mm-hmm.
We can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
If we hadn't done it before, we'll figure it out. And it's lots of things we've done that we've had to kind of work out. But semi-custom, that's what we did that more in the 90s
Mm-hmm.
when I was working for my dad and his business partner. We'd go by 25, 30 lots. We'd have like 7 sets of plans. Basically, like pick a house. Here's 4 or 5 different options for, I don't know, tile, paint, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we suggest. We were a little bit more flexible with the homeowners if they wanted to, do a little bit more things different or, get some spec like that.
Sure.
But it was a more guided process. It was definitely much more easier for us to be
Easier.
semi-custom.
Okay.
Because,
Because there's parameters you have to kind of act within, correct?
yeah, and we've critiqued the houses to make them better.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as structure, design, we made changes that made it, better for us and better for the homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
Custom, you think about pretty much 9 times out of 10, we've never built a house before.
Mm-hmm.
They've completely started from scratch, and so are we.
Sure. So what would something like maybe like a Chesapeake or a Ryan Homes where you're coming in and they kind of have like, it's almost like a catalog where you can pick, here's your 4 options in the kitchen, here's your 4 options on tile. Is that semi?
That's more of track, I guess. Maybe that's a slightly different category.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never done that, and I've never had one built. But from what I understand, basically you could select the entire house sitting in a room.
Mm-hmm.
The options were right there in front of you.
Kind of makes it Lego pieces. You can just kind of pick and choose pretty easily.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want this, or this. What they do, and this is all from what I understand too, if you wanted something complete, it's an upcharge, automatic upcharge. And they make it high enough to where the price to where you're only going to pay for it if you really want it.
Yeah. Do you think that there's some efficiencies to be had in like, so like some people, I've seen some people where they won't choose tile, but then they hire a tile guy afterwards. And I've always tried to make the argument, I'm like they've already negotiated the price. The tiler guy's already in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's unlikely that you're going to get it that much cheaper rather than just having it done at the beginning.
Yeah, unless you got a relative or a friend or something.
Or you watch YouTube videos and do it yourself.
Yeah, do it yourself.
Not everybody has a construction background. Feel free to take a sip.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Dan.
I don't want you to get too parched over there.
Did you put bourbon in the bottom?
No comment. So you've operated in, the custom, semi-custom, but mostly custom realm for the majority of your building career. I thought what would be a really interesting question to ask is if you were to retire tomorrow and move to a different area, but someone called you and say, "Hey, I'm looking at building a house." Who are 2 or 3 of your colleagues that you have such high regard that you'd be like, those are the people you need to talk to?
I would say more of not a specific person, but I would choose somebody locally. Mm-hmm. Somebody's experienced and somebody that's going to be in business for another 10 years.
Right.
In case you decide to, add on to your home or make changes or some
warranty
serious
issues.
warranty issues. Mm-hmm. But
mm-hmm.
They're only as good as their superintendent.
Mm.
Of course, you got some local guys here too that they're really good at running a business, but they don't have a clue about mm-hmm. building a house. So once again, it's up to their superintendents. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I there's a guy named Charlie retired. Mm-hmm. I've seen some of ABT's homes. Mm-hmm. They're nice.
Yeah.
Stephen Alexander, their finishes.
Mm-hmm. I've always said that their eye on architectural detail is kind of a step above, I think, what most people hire a GC and build a house and then be called a builder if you want to.
Yeah.
But Stephen Alexander's been doing it for so long, and I think they have a pretty good track. Like if you go in any neighborhood that they build, you go, that's their style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's all right. I'm not gonna make you talk shit. I'm not gonna make you talk shit about anybody.
There's plenty of great builders out there.
Sure. Do your research. Check out their reviews online. One of the things I've said in the past is call them, interview them, and then ask for like 2 or 3 of their customers.
Well, that's a good point. Is mm-hmm. talking to them, sit down with them, because you have to trust them mm-hmm.
Too. You're about to drop anywhere between $1 million to $5 million, depending on what you're actually building out.
Yeah, quite possibly your biggest investment ever. Mm-hmm. Typically most people.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel comfortable with them scared to ask them questions or that's not going to be a good fit. I mean, in a sense, he's handling your money, especially in a custom home.
Sure.
You'd want a builder that wants to handle that money like it's theirs, like it's yours.
Sure.
Or theirs,
Yeah, how are you doing change orders? How are you handling any additions or if you're going to change things in the middle, winter deadlines? Having really good, clear communication at the beginning, I think, is super important.
Yeah.
And for the people at home, the reason I say $1 to $5 million, to be honest, in today's day and age, if you're going to be doing a custom home, it's going to be real difficult to buy land and build underneath that if you're looking at anything above 3,000 square feet. So that's just a budget that's typically, pretty common. Out of the houses let's say the last 5 years, what are maybe some upgrades or things that you would say people don't always opt into, but you're like, man, they should totally be considering this, like heated garage floors or heated bathroom floors. You're like, man, this is totally worth doing the upgrade on it.
Yeah. Well, I would first start out with windows and doors. Mm-hmm. Those you can always change those down the road, obviously, but you don't want to. Yeah. That's
some of them are going to last 20, 30 years, so you might as well do them right.
Sure, but I would start with that.
Mm-hmm. Why do you say that? For efficiency or for look or function?
Efficiency. Mm-hmm. There's some crappy windows out there. Mm-hmm. Typically, you're not going to find them on $1 million house, but you never know. Mm-hmm. I've seen some nice homes built on the water with some, mid-grade windows.
Sure.
Warranties too. I love Anderson window, and they have their problems, their hiccups, but their warranties are great too.
Okay.
I did a job. Actually, it was a house over 20 years ago, and they had some defective windows, and I guess it's 6, 7 years ago. So it's 15 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So I called my Anderson rep, told him what sizes I needed, was expecting to, get the sashes and get a bill, and I didn't get one. So I passed it on to the homeowner.
Nice.
So,
what about kitchens or bathrooms specifically? Things that you're like, man, these are upgrades or things that people should be definitely considering.
I mean, I personally like quartz countertops. They're lower maintenance.
They look really good.
They look good. A lot of people would argue that they like the granite. It looks, it's got a much better look. It's God made, I guess you would say. And outside of the
dishwasher,
I would say at this point, Bosch.
Just period.
Period.
All right.
Yeah.
All the way. Not Miele, not KitchenAid. Bosch.
Yeah. Personally, yes.
Okay.
But I haven't spoken to every homeowner in 3 washers. So,
okay.
I don't know. I couldn't speak for all those things, but
are there any like building techniques or building technologies that have kind of come out in the last few years that you're like, man, this is such a game changer? Whether that's efficiency of building or just things that you think definitely produce a better overall product.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting better products for like the subfloors, the sheeting. I think the windows, not a drastic change, but they've gotten a little bit better. PVC exterior trim, that's been a good one.
Yeah,
especially on the beach. You want to put it up correctly and seal it up good, or you're going to have problems behind it. But the overall product I think it's pretty great.
PEX versus copper.
Ooh, probably PEX.
Why is that?
I was probably one of the last guys to use copper in the area.
Yeah.
I still use it on renovations. If there's copper in the house now, I'll continue it on. I've seen mainly like well water or some other type just kind of eat through the copper. I mean, we're talking 40, 50 years on, but it as far as water freezing, it's bust. The PEX will kind of stretch a little bit sometimes, and you don't have a problem. You get the water lines around, around a little bit better.
Yeah.
I was hesitant, trust me, but I think it's come a long ways, and I think it's fine. I don't have a problem with it anymore.
Sure.
I never used it until 7 years ago.
It's just so easy.
It's easy.
It's flexible.
Yeah.
So they have several different styles of couplings that you can use now, especially some of the shark bite stuff. And then you've also got the copper ring where you can cramp it down on there. It just makes it so simple.
Oh, those shark bites, those are amazing.
Hey, just slide it on, it's done.
Yeah. When they first came out, I'd put them on for temporary fixes, right? Just to get us through a day or two. And I thought that's what they were. But I have no hesitation with them whatsoever at all.
That's wild.
I just put a couple on the other day. And
what kind of warranty do those things come with?
I have no idea. I mean,
maybe we can.
Common, they're expensive.
Yeah.
So it's more of kind of like stick them on some lines until we get the renovation done and lines extended or whatnot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
With are there any materials or that we used to use 10, 15 years ago that you're like, I'm so glad we don't have to use that stuff anymore?
I'm doing a renovation now, and I took down some brick on the exterior wall, and it's got the word on it. That stuff is just, it's terrible. I mean, it's given no strength to the house. Half the time, you didn't even have house wrap on it, and I mean, when you think about it, if you got vinyl siding on that wall, just put your hand through the wall, make it a little bigger, and you're going inside. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me.
What's your feel on zip sheathing?
I like it.
Yeah.
I've used it a lot on, waterfront properties and stuff, within a block or two of the beach. I was told they tested it for like 10 years in the Outer Banks before they started selling it.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what
we're gonna start the rumor
into my ear.
We're going to continue the rumor here today.
But yeah, I think it's great. I've never used it on the roof. I would like to, but
do you feel like there's a term in, I think, the construction world is that like first time cost versus lifetime cost? And do you find that what is maybe something that you find that people will try to save money on the front end but end up shooting themselves in the foot?
Trim. If you're anywhere close, you throw up just regular prime wood around the outside. Obviously, you could cover it with metal. I don't really care for metal. I mean, I don't know. It's just, that's a personal thing. But
when you say metal, you mean like just
like a metal wrap around the
hiding a lot of stuff, and you never see it until you start seeing like the nails pop out, and you've got to recaulk everything. Half the time I see metal work, I feel like this is just me from the real estate agent side. Yeah, I know a little bit about it, right? So, I have the book knowledge at least of going to ODU for civil engineering. Yeah. But I've spent a decent amount of time with you on some projects. I've spent some time with some other builders, flippers, and that type of thing. And I'm just, when I see metal, I get nervous because I think that there's a potential that it's hiding something. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen it where the metal itself is sloped into the house towards the window. Yes. And what do they solve it with? Just throwing a bead of caulk on there. Well, that bead of caulk only lasts for a couple of years. Yeah. And most people do not refresh that or keep that clean or do it properly. And I can tell you out of, I don't know, 80% of the listings that I go, like where I'm going and telling the homeowner, all right, let's do these things to get your house ready for sale. I'm walking around the outside and I go, all right, all this caulking is like cracked and old. Scrape it and redo it. It seems really simple or kind of maybe petty, something. But if you do it, it's sort of like having like bald tires or windshield wipers that don't work when you're trying to sell a car. It's like, well, if you're not taking care of this little minor detail, what are you not taking care of underneath the house or behind the walls or electrical or plumbing, that type of thing? Yeah. But that back slope, maybe I'm being a dick here, but I think a lot of metal worker guys out there, it's easy to throw a side job because all you do is buy a metal bender and go to the store, and it's really not that complicated to do, and you can get away and make some decent money. And most of the guys. Oh yeah,
you can make a lot of money doing it. Yeah. I know a lot of guys do. And some of them are. I know a couple guys that are really good. I mean, they can put all these bends and make it look like all this trims up there, and looks great. But yeah, I'm just not a fan of it.
Any other materials that you're just like, man, you're trying to save money here, but it's going to hurt you in the long run?
Ooh.
Or maybe the opposite. Is there something that people spend money on that you think is a waste of time?
Yeah, well, that's a good way to look at it because, light fixtures, that's easy to change out. Faucets. I mean, even countertops.
Yeah, you're allowed to burp. It's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Or appliances. But, think about that. When you get into like the flooring, the tile, well, the layout too. I mean, that stuff's hard to change. Yeah. It's going to cost you a lot more. So
anything you got to go in and rip out that takes a lot of, materials and labor to set up and the materials and labor to redo. Yeah. Yeah. I think like if I was going to say one, I personally like the extra cost of the tankless like hot water heater.
That's another one I was going to say. That I think I've done maybe 2 or 3 old school tanked water, water heater tanks, whatever you want to call them, in the last 12 years. I mean, definitely less than 5.
I mean, they're reliable. Like it's basically a huge igloo. Yeah. With a heating element. Yeah. Right.
When the power goes out, you're like, oh, we're good.
Yeah. But the tankless is just, I don't know. I'm at now where I've got a decent amount of people. I got teenagers almost now, and my sister lives with me, and I've had other people live with me. All 3 people in a shower, that one tank will go really, really quickly. Having the tankless is a nice addition, especially if it's run off gas.
Yeah.
So
I know it's now, I remember when I was a kid, you know, we'd all kind of coordinate. There's 6 of us, and everybody taking showers, and you're like, I'm going first. You know, everybody's arguing. You know, it's a good way to get kids in bed.
How many luxury homes do you think are putting in like those little circulating pumps where you have the hot water immediately on demand?
The research we've always done that. I couldn't tell you a house I haven't done it
really
in years. The one of the tankless I'm using is built in. When we first started doing the tankless, we would have this little small electric water heater, you know, like a mini size one, and we would have that on and then have a pump pumping it through the house and everything. And now they have, you know, it's all built in. You just got to run the return line.
Sure.
So you got, you know, you go far point and turn back. And
do you have to have a tank and a tankless to be able to do that? Because effectively you're pulling hot water through the system, you know, on a kind of a consistent basis.
No. If you use, for instance, the Navion, what I have, it's you just got to run the line back to it. It's built in.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it cuts down. I mean, you still get a little, you know, a minute or two, or not a minute, you know, a second or two of cold water, but
worth it, not worth it. Metal roofs.
Yeah, I like them. I mean, yeah, I think they're great. I'm about.
You should have just.
They're just yeah. I mean, there's you know they're typically 3 times the amount or so, sometimes more.
Well, same thing with slate. Like slate is real expensive. Plus, it's heavy. You have to build in engineering to be able to hold the weight. Yeah. But you get Buckingham slate. It's going to last 200 years.
It's cool. I did a job, a terracotta roof, right? That's still the original terracotta from, I believe, 1907.
Oh, the one on Jamestown Crescent right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then we added on the back, and I got some more terracotta from Florida and put that on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long time. But
yeah, I think that's kind of what I think through. And I'm thinking about, because I'll have clients that'll either, let's say that they go, you know, buying a house and that's resales, not really want to do. Maybe they are looking for a forever home. They want to do a little more customized. So a lot of times I'll make the introduction to like, you know, a Strickland Homes or, you know, I know a couple other guys and different price points, different expectations, different that sort of thing.
Sure.
But what I find is that every now and then I'll still get questions like, hey, should I do this or this? Should I do that or that? The builder's recommending this. What do you think? And my tendency is like if you're going to be here for a long period of time, you want to love where you live. You don't ever want to be kind of like you mentioned. There's lighting fixtures are easy, man. Right. Matter of fact, if you buy a $500 lighting fixture and you hate it, especially nowadays, and you want to go buy the $700 one or different style, you can go buy it and you can probably resell it for pretty close to what you bought it for because supply chain stuff that's going on today, or at least half of it on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh yeah.
You know how like if you know nothing about electricity, it's pretty simple to wire up and put up there. Right? Go watch a YouTube video.
Oh.
I'm not suggesting anyone at home goes and electrocutes themselves, but it's not that complicated. However, the difference between doing regular 2x4 and 2x6 framing is something you get one chance to make that decision.
Yeah.
Right? And we're talking about not just a 50% increase in insulation, but the tightness of the house, the sound that comes in through the house, those types of things.
Agreed.
Speaking of insulation, spray foam. What's your kind of your feel on spray foam?
I don't know yet. We've done quite a bit of it. I'd say in the last 10 years. It was funny because you'd pay for early on. You pay for either 1/2 inch or 1 inch, you know, thick.
Right.
But it's so hard to get that consistent. So we found that the installer would end up spraying 1 inch on the wall.
Oh no.
So we just pay for the 1/2 inch, or it might have been 3/4. I don't remember. Yeah. We'd pay for the smaller amount, but we ended up getting, you know, the 1 inch product. But
this is like the Chipotle hack. So instead of you do half chicken, half steak, and they accidentally
put a little extra meat in there. Yeah.
Okay. So the Chipotle hack of the housing industry.
They figured it out within a year or two. So that was all gone. Yeah. But I don't know yet. I think it's great, especially you know, on the water. It kind of seals up. It tightens up the house, strengthens up the house, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think we'll know better in probably another 10, 15 years.
Yeah. And that's the reality of some of these technologies is we don't have a long enough period. Like it's only been around for 5 years. It's only been around for a couple of years.
Well, I tell you,
not spray foam in particular, but any technology.
If you really want to learn about construction, get into renovation. I mean, try and do both like I did. I started doing more and more renovations, you know, in 2006, 2007. And you look and see how they did it and kind of figured out, well, this worked, this didn't work. And it makes you a better new construction builder.
Right.
Gosh, I could tell you 1,000 things that I've seen, and I've changed, you know, and brought into the new construction world.
Yeah.
And it's fun, right? Because I grew up in the business, so I've known so many guys that, you know, are part of our team, and everybody's had like a touch on some of these houses. I mean, I've already renovated houses my dad's built, and yeah. I was like, all right, well, I can do better than this, you know. No, he did a good job. But even like, you know, there's a couple old guys that I used to work with that have since deceased, but they were like, oh man, I framed this house, you know. I did a renovation in Virginia Beach. This guy Mitch, he framed it back in the 50s. So and he helped me with that renovation too. So it's really neat where where I am now, because there's so many stories in this whole area, because, you know, I've been around it so long now.
When I say the phrase, they don't build them like they used to, what does that make you think?
Well, I used to say, thank goodness.
Okay.
Right. But, you know, there's a lot of arguments to that one side or the other. Obviously, back in the day, the wood was better. It was and possibly in some houses thicker, depending on the year.
Sure. I would argue adhesives and fastening has come a long way.
Yeah. House wraps. Yeah. Lots of, well, I mean, obviously
air quality.
Windows quality. Crawls. Yeah. Footings. I worked on a house right down the street here, and we were digging up.
You used to own a place over here, didn't you?
No, my buddy did, and I was doing it there for him. And the whole back end addition was just sitting on the ground. The center block. There was no footing.
Yeah, we did. I helped you out on a place in Pretty Lake in Ocean View. The timbers were just sitting right on the ground.
Which one was that?
The old log cabin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I took that. Remember the door I took from there?
I ripped my favorite shirt on that project.
That's my coffee table.
Working for free.
You did.
I did.
You did for a long time.
I remember calling you, and I was like, hey, you working over here? And you're like, yeah. I was like, let me come work for you. Because I don't know, weirdo. I was like, I'm just going to hang out with Allen.
Oh, dude, I loved it. And I was looking back, I was like, man, Allen, you're kind of a jerk. I mean,
you didn't even pay me nothing. Then we go crawl underneath the house in a log cabin built in like I almost got stuck underneath there. Ripped my favorite shirt on underneath.
Yeah, good times. I don't even think I bought you lunch either.
No, I don't think you did. I'm just messing.
You didn't spot your coffee.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we had that was a really
sorry,
Dan. That was like,
for the record,
I want to say it was built in like late 1800s. The log cabin back there. And what's fascinating is some of the timbers were sitting directly on the ground.
Yes.
And we had, because we took up the floor, and we were looking at it, and we're like, how the hell does this not have termites? Because it's so close to the water, too.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to see that there were 0 termites down there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I think you had said that you thought because some of the timber was so old and like so dense that they just weren't attracted to, like, because some of the new wood, the cellulose, that's what they eat out of the timbers.
Yeah.
That some of
yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, somebody could certainly correct me or argue with me, but
they'd be
I wouldn't argue with them because I really don't know. They're
not on the podcast.
That's my best guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, sit there and argue in your truck with somebody else.
Some keyboard warrior. Let's get after it. Cool. What maybe I remember you telling me that of this lady that you had done work for. She'd like bought a condo, renovated it, got married, sold it, bought another one with a guy, renovated it, got a divorce, sold it, bought another place, renovated it. Like how many, I say that more as clickbait, but where do you find your business? Does it mostly come by word of mouth? Is it repeat business? Is it people randomly finding you on like house.com? How does that work?
Yeah, well, for years it was word of mouth. Like, I mean, we've never advertised. I mean, yeah, we've sponsored some golf tournaments and like
when you say
done
sponsored,
stuff like that, but
yeah.
we're not it's not advertising to us. We're just just donating really in a sense, I guess. Maybe it is advertising. I don't know.
But mostly word of mouth.
Yeah.
Like how did you get into the Cavalier project in East Beach? Is that something where they were just like, hey, you have a great reputation, come build in here?
How did we get in the East Beach? I think that might have been my wife.
That was invitation only, wasn't it?
Well, the first house we built in there was a Homerama. So they were, at that time, there's a lot of people they would take. I mean, it wasn't like we were an elite part of group. I don't think. Maybe we were. I don't know. But my wife had wanted to build in there. I think she pushed for that one, and I just kind of went along with it. I think my dad got excited about it once he started thinking about it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we built that house, and damn, that was a beautiful home.
Sure,
that was one of the prettiest homes I've ever built.
I've pushed a lot of people that direction just because I think East Beach, in particular, could be because there's such an emphasis on doing high level construction. Like I was showing a house in there last week to a couple, and it was easy to sell because you walk through it and it's beautiful. Yeah. Architectural details are there. It's thought out, the way that it's laid out. The only downside I think East Beach is the lot sizes are smaller. Oh, yeah. You have some, the only green spaces or like outside space you get is between usually the carriage house and the main house. It's a little bit private, but most of the green space is shared. Other than that, I think things like real shutters. I hate freaking fake shutters. And one of my best friends, Tim James, there's like a guy I follow on Instagram. I think it's like a carpenter, and he like every Sunday puts up ridiculous shutters where like the window's like this big, but then the shutter's like this skinny on the side of it. Yeah. Not only is it not functional, but even if it was, it couldn't work. Yeah. I can't stand fake shutters. But East Beach, I get back to my point is like, I remember I went in there on a project that you guys were working on, and I got to help like install them. And it was just so cool to see like a high level of intentionality. Like we're going to get these types of shutters with these types of fasteners, and we're using this type of stainless steel. Was it 316 is some of the stuff that you use for coastal stuff. Yeah. So that it won't rust and it'll last a really long time.
I can't imagine what that costs now. I can't imagine because I mean that was 3, 4, 5 years ago, and things have gone up like crazy just recently. Yeah. But the hardware alone for that stuff was over $1,000. Yeah. I mean, and we're not talking that many windows. Yeah. And then the shutters themselves, I mean, I think they were like $5,000 plus the install.
Yeah, because they were all custom made, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But I'd be curious to know who actually uses those shutters in there.
Probably not too many.
I think probably zero.
Yeah. But they work. They function.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you bring up a really interesting point. I think there's a lot of over the last, specifically since like COVID, right? If you would have told me, because we kind of found out things were going, I think there were whispers in January. Everything started dropping in like March, April timeframe. And my guess, if I'm honest, I was like, holy shit, my business is going to get cut down to nothing. Am I going to go out of business? Am I going to be able to feed my family? Because I legit thought the world was going to shut down. There was a lot of panic. And I thought the market was going to go dead silent. And it did for like 2 weeks. Nothing. I was freaking the F out. And then all of a sudden my phone starts blowing up. And it was like person after person. Hey, I'm looking at buying. Hey, I'm looking at buying. They lower interest rates. Hey, I'm looking at buying. They lower interest rates again. Hey, I'm looking at buying. Federal government comes in and says, hey, we're going to buy all these on the backside. You don't have to worry about like reselling them. It lower interest rates again. And then we get into like the high twos. Like I remember I had a client that got like a 2.2, 35 or 75 or something ridiculous on a VA loan, and I just thought, what the hell is going on? So we've had a lot of. I tell people that anything priced, whether it's coffee, this laptop, this, the table, is always a reflection of two things: supply and demand. How many people are willing and have the capacity to buy, and how much is available of that thing, right? And so, this is why diamonds are so expensive, is because somebody controls the supply of them, and they market the shit out of it.
Right.
So, how have you guys over the period of the last 2 years, you've had to shift probably quite a bit on pricing. Now, maybe the luxury market is a little insulated because those people are a little less price sensitive, but you still have to have those conversations. You still have to go, hey, I'm sorry, things are running 6 months behind because of X, Y, or Z. How have you guys handled that?
Well, constantly changing.
Yes.
It's been a shit show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, being in construction right now sucks. There's
clickbait for you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's just, it's hard. It's really hard right now because prices are constantly changing. Labor's constantly increasing.
Mm-hmm.
We bid it on a job back in October of last year. We started a little bit in February and March, but we just broke ground last week.
Yeah.
Do you think those prices are any good anymore?
Probably not.
Probably not. So we've exposed ourselves. I mean, I don't care if we're going to do a kitchen in your house or build you a $2 million house.
Yeah.
I break down the cost.
You mean risk exposure, not flashing.
What are we talking about?
You said expose. I was just.
I'm exposing my numbers. My budgets.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, I'm mismatched.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I can take it.
But so are you kind of going to clients and saying, hey, look, I'm sorry, but and here's my actual cost now, or are people pushing back and saying, no, you promised me these things?
No, we break it down and give them a budget of every item.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything, even the porta-john.
Mm-hmm.
And then we say, well, just so you know, this is probably going to be more. This is probably going to be more. This is going to be more. We don't know.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the lumber, has steadily gone down, not drastically, but a little bit here, a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
So those numbers are getting better and a little under budget. But yeah, we're breaking the whole job down.
Hmm.
So if all the stuff comes in higher, then we're charging them what it cost us.
Right. Is that kind of like because they came to build with you, you just kind of sit here and go, hey, look, here's kind of what we're projecting, but they could change. We're going to be honest with you as we go along.
Yeah.
Kind of just share with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's right on top. Projected budget.
Mm-hmm.
Projected.
Yeah. Well, I think they can get a little bit into how different builders build, like cost plus and different styles. What have you guys found to be pretty consistent to work for you guys?
Well, with that being said, we've done, typically when we're talking $1 million, $2 million home, we've primarily shifted to doing cost plus.
Okay.
So
can you explain that for people who don't understand what that means?
Yeah. Basically, we'll break down the entire budget.
Mm-hmm.
When the bills come in, we hand them to you, and you give us a check for to that company. So you pay them directly. That way, we can keep them out of our books, and it costs less for us.
Are they paying directly, or is the bank paying directly, like on a draw system, or how does that work?
Well, it depends. What the homeowner does. As far as finances.
Yeah.
We do deal with a lot of people that are financially strong.
Sure. Yeah.
Cash heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I don't know where they're pulling it from. Maybe they're borrowing some money too. I don't know.
A lot of people, especially in the higher like income brackets, or if they're in investments, they've done really, really well in the market over the last 5-10 years, and they're parking that money somewhere.
Yeah.
So at least that's been I've been listening to quite a bit of like luxury podcasts and kind of understanding that echelon of buyer. It's, hey, I have this money and I need to put it somewhere, so I'm going to go ahead and just park it into this, my primary residence for the next decade.
Yeah. So and we got a couple of homeowners that they're getting their financing from the bank, and so we kind of set it up to where they they get their draws and then they're able to pay
Sure.
the bills. The smaller jobs, $200,000 renovations. Typically, we'll show them or tell them, what it cost, and then, we'll pay all the bills. Mm-hmm. But they're where their money's going.
Yeah.
So when this job ends up costing $220 instead of $180, they understand why.
Right. It doesn't just feel like you're pulling a fast one over.
Yeah, I hate going back to them. We need more money. We need more money. Well, mm-hmm. why? And we just break it down, mm-hmm. and they can see where it's going.
What have you seen? So, kind of a little bit back to the supply chain timing stuff. What have you seen for Sean? How are we doing on time?
We're at 55 minutes.
Sweet. We'll go another 10, 15.
Are you getting bored?
No, this is interesting to me.
Okay. So, like, what have you seen? Let's just say someone regular. Let's say regular. It's hard to say that. A project where maybe you would go, hey, this is going to take me 18 to 24 months to get completed, or maybe 12 to 18 or whatever it is
right now.
Sure. Well, you have plumbers and electricians.
Yeah.
That you like
well,
using.
Obviously we have a labor shortage. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that.
Yep.
The guys, all the guys, most of the trades are in their 50s or 60s. Mm-hmm. They don't take the heat as well. They, for instance, now.
Sure.
The cold as fast as they used to.
Yeah.
They don't want to. And
one of my other buddies, Joey, had said something similar on a project that he's working on. And he's just like, yeah, I called the guy, and he's like, yeah, it's too hot. I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
He can't do anything about it. Cause it's like, that's my guy. That's the guy I trust.
Well, who else is he going to get, right? I mean, I'm having a problem now with framers because there's just nobody wants to do it anymore. The guy worked for it back when I was 18, when I was dating my wife. Mm-hmm. I worked for a framer, and he just had back surgery the other week. He's 58, maybe 59, and his body's just falling apart. I mean, and he's one of the guys that took care of himself. Mm-hmm. I mean, he wasn't one of those framers, drinking every night or whatever the case may be. Like, he was a good dude. And another guy I used to use, he just had a heart attack 2 weeks ago and passed away. Matter of fact, he's the guy that did the job over there on where we were crawling under the house. No, not that house. The one on Margaret.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We did the big addition on the water there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Sorry.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I do remember you had the Toyota Land Cruiser then. Or no, the FJ.
I did have the FJ.
You had the FJ.
That is...
was it yellow?
White. Yeah.
Way off.
That's one of the ones I regret selling, for sure. What's interesting, though, as a side tangent with the FJ, I ran pricing on the FJ like 7-8 years later.
Yeah.
I still could have sold it for maybe within like $2 or $3 grand of what I bought it for. That's how much like they appreciated in value.
I know.
That's just wild.
That's cool. Well, I mean, shoot, just in the last 2 years too. Well, you did that with your Bronco too, right?
There's another regret. I actually really enjoyed the Bronco, but it was one of those things where I had been told so many times throughout my life, like, never buy a new car, never buy a new car. And I just kind of came into the financial situation where I was like, all right, I can make the purchase. And yes, if I lose, 15, 20% off the lot, as long as I hold on to it for, a bunch of years, I can just kind of eat that cost and get over it, right?
Yeah.
Cry later.
Yeah.
But I bought it and drove it for a month and a half, put 2,500 miles on it, and sold it. One guy had offered me 15 grand more than what I paid for it. And I was waiting on him. And then I just randomly plugged it into Carvana, and they were like, it was 10 grand. A baseline visual inspection, and then they just hand you a check. And that was it.
Roger that.
And I was like, am I going to regret not taking advantage of this? I don't know if I'll ever see this again in my lifetime. So it was just...
I as much as I think it might have taken a little bit of your manlyhood away, I think you did the right thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it also allowed for me to, in that particular phase of life, I was able to go and help out somebody that I wanted to help out. So it was a good situation overall. I mean, I'm driving the Rivian now, so it's not like I'm hurting. Like, it's not.
I know.
It's a nice truck. So.
It's cute. It's a cute truck.
How much does your truck weigh?
more than that.
No, how much is it? I'm guess.
My truck?
Yeah, how much does your truck weigh?
Let's see. With the
You'd be surprised.
well, I'm trying to think because on my scales, I'm about 15,000 with the trailer, so I'm about 9,000 pounds.
Okay, all right. I'm still kind of cute. If you had to guess what the Rivian weighed, what would you guess?
I don't know, 1,500 pounds.
That's insulting. Seven.
7?
Yeah. The battery pack is
What?
heavy. Now, here's the thing. Towing is actually not bad. Granted, the range is pretty significantly reduced with being electric, but it's still 11,000 pounds towing. 0 to 60 is 3.5 seconds with 34-inch tires.
Oh, okay. I understand the speed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no restriction.
It's pretty
But
impressive.
11,000 pounds towing.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's wild. It's a mid-sized truck, right?
Yeah.
It's a size
Yeah.
of Tacoma. So
That is a lot.
I don't need
Now
a huge
you're
truck
only
to-
going to need you're only going to be able to take about 100 pounds on the tongue weight. You know, I mean, your tires are going to come up off the ground.
Oh
with
my
that thing.
god! All right. Moving on to the,
Yeah, what were we talking about? I did have another point, but I forgot.
well, it was supply chain stuff and restrictions and timing and that type of thing.
Oh yeah. It's the scheduling because of subs. They're so backed up. They're so overwhelmed. They're tired. So scheduling right now is a complete nightmare.
Mm-hmm. So you just tell clients like, hey, look, we'll be done.
I know.
We'll finish when we finish.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of explain to them in why we make our decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So like one job, we ordered the appliances, and these are high-end appliances, right? I mean, these are very, very expensive appliances.
Wolf, Viking, Thermador,
Yeah, and
Sub-Zero, that type of thing.
we ordered them October of last year, and we just started their job 4 weeks ago.
Mhm.
Actually, no, it was about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a client right now that's in the middle of buying a house that's getting renovated, and the builder's allowing them to make some selections. And they had looked at Thermador, and I think the delivery was 14 months or something wild.
Yeah,
like that.
it's crazy. I mean, even getting the gas. Like I got a job in Suffolk, North Suffolk, and they're adding a bunch of gas appliances. I think a generator, a pool heater.
Mhm.
I mean, this is a big job. We're doing all kinds of stuff. So he needs a larger gas line coming into the house.
Mm-hmm.
The guy told me they were a year and a half out.
Okay. A year and a half.
A year and a half out.
That's wild.
Yeah.
All right. You just said, you pinged my brain something on there. You said big project. Tell me like a couple different projects, like stuff that you're like, this was just cool. Like whether it's pool stuff, outdoor hangout, cooking, ranges, technology, 14-foot cantilevered out over the water.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Well, we did a container pool.
A container pool.
And yeah, so we built basically a concrete platform, stuck the container on it.
Okay.
And so the pool was level with the second floor. Does that make sense?
Was this an actual container from like
I
a
assume.
shipping container?
I mean, it looks like it.
Okay.
I don't know. It was built in Canada.
Okay.
The homeowner found it. That's what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
We had to put it all together.
Mm.
And that was a tough one. There was a lot to think about with that.
Interesting.
And fortunately my dad was heavily involved in that, so that it brought having that experience was great.
Cool. Do you still call him in every now? Because he's officially retired.
He officially retired. It's
Yeah.
funny. He texted me this morning because he's bored, and he's like, "Hey, I'm out in Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
Can I stop by this job?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll check it out for you.
Tell him
know."
no.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but I was like, poor guy. He just, he wants something to
Say,
do.
Dad, I don't have time for people who are
Yeah.
bored.
Yeah.
Just because you sitting on your hands over there.
It's funny. I have reached out to him for a few things here and there.
Sure.
But I really want him to enjoy his retirement.
Well, he's worked hard and
Oh, he has.
a long time.
He's worked very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we went to Tab, your dad and Mike Teagle have been friends for a really long time.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of respect for your dad because he would go a lot on the youth trips, and so I got to spend a decent amount. Actually, I got to know him before I got to know you. funny enough.
Yeah.
And then I think we kind of started our bromance on our trip maybe together to Mexico.
I would agree. Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we met a few times before that.
Sure, just in passing.
And then Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Pete kind of, we both knew Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Pete, you're a good dude.
Pete Johnson.
Love
that guy.
Yeah, he's a real man.
He works on a ranch. I mean, he makes us look. You go and build luxury houses, and I talk for a living. So,
yeah.
He's
well, it's funny because we went down there and helped him build some
Pete,
stuff.
I really hope you watch this.
We went down there and helped him build some stuff, and he was asking me stuff down there, and I don't know, maybe did ask me a few questions here and there. It seemed like when he came back or whatnot, but I haven't heard from him in years, so I'm just assuming the dude's
he's still alive, I promise.
Full out, contractor
Bandito.
now. He doesn't need anybody's help.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go down there and he can teach me.
I might be actually going in March, April of this next year, so I'll keep you in the loop.
I love La Paz.
Yeah.
We ought to drive that thing right there, and I'll tow it behind my truck. I'll take my truck until we get there. Then we'll take it on the dunes.
Well, I think there was a documentary where they drove up the coast there, but that's actually that's a long trip.
Baja 1000.
Yeah. You know what I'd rather do? I'd rather actually go in and together and buy like a UTV, and then take that from the border all the way down, and then leave it with the ranch for them to use every day.
Oh, I like that.
I think that'd be a fun trip.
Oh, yeah, I'll do that. We'll
talk more off camera on that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap up today here. If you had to say three couple trends maybe in construction right now that you love, things that contractors are doing better, products that people are using, expectations, maybe clients that are more accustomed to because of the internet, that you're like, man, I'm just really glad these things are happening. And then maybe 3 to 5 that you're like, I can't stand this in the industry.
The trends that
you can use your notes. I won't.
Yeah, well,
I won't mock you too ruthlessly.
Yeah, I just crossed out your question actually.
You're like, these are terrible questions.
These are terrible questions.
Well, how about this?
I took it. No, I like the question.
Okay,
though. I do. I like it.
I was going to give you a free pass and just say answer the question you want to answer.
No, I'm good with it. This is kind of maybe not answering your question correctly, but their costs are going up.
Why is that?
Because these guys are busting their tail, and it's hard work. I mean, it's every day.
Yeah.
A lot of them 6 days a week.
Sure.
And they deserve more money. Now, who's gonna eat that? The consumer, right?
Cost has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, but I'm glad because it's held it's stayed the same for years. I mean, when you look at the last 20 years, it hasn't gone up much. Materials are going up. People are spending more money on this and that, but the guys putting it in are still, making it, and a lot of them living paycheck to paycheck. So, I don't know. Maybe that doesn't fall in that question, but
it's all right.
I'm very excited to see that some of these guys are
guys that you've seen working for years and years and years. You feel like some of them now have, maybe a good way to put it is they now have the power to say, I charge this much now, because they can go. They have 40 other people waiting behind you to hire them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess maybe this needed to happen. I don't know, but we still need more people.
Well, skilled labor.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of contractors you can get away with a lot of crap, and there's the kind of a running joke in the industry that you can switch up the name, buy a new pickup truck, and have a new business the next day if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
And so if it's hard to get a hold of you or have a warranty, it's difficult to do what you and your dad have done, which is to build consistently decade after decade after freaking decade, and maintain a reputation and still get repeat and referral business.
Yeah.
That is hard to do. It's easy to be shitty.
Yeah.
So.
Right. It's easy to get in. It's easy to get out. That happens. Yeah.
Anything else?
Another trend, and this ties along. I have a new business partner. I partnered up. it's been a couple years now, maybe almost 3. So with that being said, I love seeing more women get in the construction world.
Yeah.
And working with her, she's brought, just so much different strengths at we work.
Like being able to multitask because you can't focus on it.
Yes. But yeah, no, it's I love seeing it. My sister, she works for a large commercial company. She's doing
Michelle, right?
Yeah, she's doing a great job up there. So
she and I think graduated with the same degree.
Really?
Yeah, civil engineering with construction management from ODU. Isn't that what her degree was in?
Yeah.
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 She graduated like a year or 2 before I did.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm putting mine to use.
She did her.
You can see.
Huh? She did it in 6. You did 10. Is that what?
What's what
Years?
Oh, what are you talking about? ODU?
Yeah.
No, I finished in 5. Come on now.
Oh,
Yeah.
bravo.
Yeah, while being a stay-at-home dad.
Well, at least you finished.
Yeah.
Some of us
Who
don't.
cares? I'm obviously not using it. I mean, I'm able to speak decently, competently on some things, but
Yeah.
you know,
I think my
this
dad's.
is about me. This is about you.
I know. My
Yeah.
dad's business partner for 30-something years. I think he had a degree in, I think it was marine biology or something like that.
Really?
Yeah. That was hilarious. I was from ODU too.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, that's respectable, Mr. Strickland.
No, it was Pick, Mr. Pick.
Yeah.
A guy named Ralph Pick. Yeah.
All right, things you hate in the industry, things that just drive you bonkers.
The price change in the materials,
Mm-hmm.
it's hair pulling.
Mm-hmm.
The trying to get estimates from the guy, the subs are so tired that you call them, hey, I got a job coming up, can you come check it out?
Mm.
Man, I not today, I'll try tomorrow. And then before you know it, they're like, I'll just let me come do it and we'll figure it out.
Mm.
And, we all know how that goes.
Sure.
And even trying to get estimates on doors, windows, and like bidding, lots of different materials, and then people are constantly changing them, which
Mm-hmm.
changes the price and whatnot. And then by the time you say, all right, order it, they're so confused. You order it and it's the wrong thing.
Mm.
That happens a lot.
My number one pet peeve in construction, period, in real estate, I would say, termite moisture. Drives me bonkers.
Ooh.
So I say consistently that the incentive drives the outcome,
Yeah.
right? If you incentivize somebody with, like your dad was getting paid per piece, right? Well, how many pieces can I get done in an hour?
Yeah.
Right. But if you get paid per the hour, there's less incentive to be efficient, less incentive to drive a certain outcome. So in our area, our contract basically says we get 1% unless you write in something different to take care of termite moisture, walkthrough, septic and well, and appraisal condition issues, right?
Yeah.
Well, typically the termite moisture, in my experience, typically gets ordered before the appraisal does, or it comes back before any appraisal conditions come back. And every termite moisture guy in Hampton Roads knows that 1% is there, right? And I think that there is a incentive sometimes to draw up work that maybe doesn't exist.
Sure.
And so I've seen it. I've had, because I try to convince sellers day in, day out to do a termite moisture prior to listing, because you can always hire another guy out to give you another estimate. You don't have to worry. You don't have to argue with the buyer, because every buyer wants to use their person. Every seller wants to use their person. And you can get double estimates, double check their work, have another guy come out. And there's an incentive, a little more so before the listing, to be a little more honest, to have the work done. So you can get the clear letter before you even go on the market. And then you just tell the buyer, like, no, it's my guy. I have a clear letter. It's done.
Yeah.
Right. And we're still in a seller's market. You can still draw that line in the sand.
Right,
but if you leave it open, it just bothers me, because I legitimately was just this morning before you came in, was kind of like in the middle of a negotiation where we wrote as the buyer, we're doing the termite moisture. Guy finds on a $670,000 property out in Lagomar, $5,500 worth of work. Now, again, I'm looking through, I'm looking at the pictures. It looks pretty legitimate. And you want to get people hot under the collar, hire 10 different contractors and ask them their opinion on something, right? It's like they're all going to have a slightly different way of doing it and what ought to be done. Right?
Yes.
Oh, that guy's shit. This is what you ought to do, right? So, that's just, it's an easy way to get people hot under the collar. But what is the seller, because the listing agent did not do a good job and advise him properly, and or maybe he's just trying to pull a fast one. They did a termite moisture inspection. I'm like, hey, that's great, fine, you can do it if you want to, but in the contract we get to do it here. Well, my guy said they didn't find anything, $0 worth of work, and I'm like, come on, bro, like really, $0 and $5,500? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out the termite moisture guy that gave the report is the same guy who's been crawling under, quote unquote, maybe possibly not crawling underneath the house for the last 17 years, right? Well, he has an incentive to not find work because he has to warranty any of it, and it hurts his reputation if it actually does find work, right?
Right.
So we ended up finding a medium way where they were like, could you please hire a third party? And I had asked my buyer, like, do you want me to be a dick here and push him to say, no, here's the letter of the law of the contract, you're going to do our person. So we found another person. They come out, they find basically the same amount of work. They instead of 10 mil poly, they did 6 mil poly. Instead of taking out the insulation, they're leaving and pushing the insulation back up. And one did a dehumidifier, the other one didn't. Yeah. But it was about $1,000 difference, $5,500 versus $4,500.
Sure.
So we ended up doing that. But it really drives me nuts that every single contract, if there's any hint of potential for moisture underneath the house, I'm like, shit, I want to control this process, because there's a tendency in the industry for them magically to find work, and the work varies so wildly from one contractor to the next.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
There's my pet peeve.
Oh no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, you think about it, like, it's under the house.
Mm-hmm. Well, if
nobody
you don't
wants to go under there.
Sure, and most homeowners don't go under there and do anything.
Most homeowners don't.
For a decade.
You could go under there and say whatever the hell you want to say,
mm-hmm.
and nobody's going to go behind you and check you. I mean, even inspectors don't want to go under a house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just you sent 3 guys under there, 3 different opinions,
mm-hmm.
and there's nobody to really check.
Yeah.
The 3.
Well, we're going to leave more topics for another time.
Part 2?
Yeah, part 2 for this.
This is actually fun.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Well, so this is the inaugural.
Can I get paid for this?
No, sorry. You get a coffee. I'll buy you some lunch.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Steak?
maybe we'll sip bourbon off screen.
Steak and bourbon?
If that's what it takes. Dude, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. And as I did on the previous one,
Sean,
that's a wrap.
You're amazing. I like your equipment.
I like this guy.
Oh, we were going to compare sizes of knives. You did have your knife.
Oh, I left my I brought my small one today, but
okay.
I think that's
still got me beat.
Should we do
Mine's
a nice
prettier.
jab in there?
Mine's prettier, and yours is more worn and bigger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll decide whether or not we're going to leave that in at the end.
That is
cute.
That's cute.
There it is. Yeah.
That's cute. Like your truck. Wow.
Cool. All right, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.